Good
Ooh.
morning.
Good morning. What's happening?
That video glitched for a second there. I was worried my computer was about to crash.
That's been my entire week. I don't know if something's in the air or something's in the moon or what's going on, but
Nick said that too. Her phone was messing up this morning, and she says we're in the shadow of Mercury retrograde. We're not even in Mercury retrograde yet. So she said it's going to be a doozy.
So, like, do you have that? Like, a lot of people come to you with like, "Oh, there's too much wild energy."
Sometimes, and I can feel it a little bit, but like it drives me nuts. Yesterday, I saw this video that somebody posted on Instagram and a story share of this person. They were like, "Light workers, be aware. This is going to be a trying month, and all this suffering, and you're a light worker, so life is hard, and all this stuff." And it's like, sometimes I just need to disconnect.
How many multiple millions of views did it have?
Probably a lot.
Here's the thing though, like, okay, so I was getting a haircut yesterday, and it was the most chaos I've ever been a part of. It was like, I think I was witnessing a mental breakdown or experiencing it myself. It was like, I felt so bad for the lady. There's like, there was nothing I could do.
Your hair looks good though. You didn't mess up your haircut.
No, the hair's great. But like, I felt so bad for her. Like, it just was a cascade of like people like just kept coming in, and she's taking phone calls. She was on 2 calls at once. I was like, this is craziness. And I couldn't breathe through it. I don't know what you do in that situation. Do you leave?
You just chill. I would send her like chill vibes. I'd get her like
trying
celebrate to where you are, or you take the phone from her. You say, "Here, let me talk to them."
Yeah. Okay. See, you're next level. You would take a phone call. Cool.
Why not?
You really?
Hey, Sharon's busy cutting my hair right now. Could you
winds me up too. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
let's go
with their beliefs. Yeah. How's everybody doing today? Hey, everybody in the chat window.
How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm having lots of fun. Remote viewing's fun. We had one of our best Breakthrough Club live calls ever last night or yesterday afternoon.
What was the topic?
Connecting to the higher mind.
Okay.
So like with this remote viewing practice, I have been connecting more and more to my higher mind. And I'm noticing how it's shifting so much stuff, both like inside me and in my reality and in my remote viewing. I mean, I was telling you earlier today that like I'm getting like spot on hits of targets, which is crazy. But we did this. I took people through this, 15-minute meditation where I took them inside of their human mind into this room, and then stepped them out of the door into their higher mind, and then locked the door open so that the higher mind connection was then more established. And people were crying, like people loved it. It was awesome.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, and it's unteachable, you guys. So today I'm going to cut it up into just the meditation on its own, but the recording is unteachable.
Yeah, that would be cool. Like, see, that's the real grit, right? If I would love to like just see your life around that, like see your response to all that. Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah,
people like coming to you and crying. That's it.
Yeah, and I would say this week the funnest thing was like, I would say I had my first real conscious telepathic experience.
Oh, what's that?
And so like, we've been doing this remote viewing, right? Yeah. And remote viewing is blind. You just give the viewer a number, and then the person describes what they're sensing from that number. So I was like, okay, well, I wonder if Anik thinks of a random object somewhere in the world and then gives me a number to assign to that object. And I think she said like 12. I said, Anik, think of an object. She said, okay, give me a number that you assign to that object mentally. And she said 12.
Oh.
And I was like, now I'm going to see if I can describe that object. And I said, it feels metallic. It feels like it's up on a wall. This is the shape. And she's like, oh my God, that's exactly what it is. It's a metal tree that is on the wall at my parents' place.
All right.
So for me, that felt like a true telepathic experience. Not that she was transmitting the data, but she, in her mind, associated to an object. And I was able to psychically describe that object just simply based on what she was thinking.
So basically, I mean, is it important for her to be open to it? Like she released that? Or you think you could have went in there and grabbed it?
I don't think so. I think however remote viewing works, we go into the higher mind, into the matrix where all things are there, all data. Right. So I was able to get the data that her mind was focused on.
Yeah. That's that you went to even maybe the future got where the answer was revealed. So it was no betrayal of trust.
Maybe.
You just went to future self.
Maybe.
See, now that's where it's at, right?
Got some of our Breakthrough Club members here commenting on yesterday's meditation. What else? I saw somebody else comment something. Yay, we want that meditation. Yeah, you've got it in Teachable, Lydia. I just got to cut it out for you. Lots of good comments from the call. Appreciate you guys.
Yeah, so like it seems like you're getting better and better and better at all
It's
that.
remote viewing. Yeah,
Yeah. And then well, transmuting it into, I don't know, somewhat more practical things or different ways of doing it.
Yeah, I mean, we've done some lost objects. I did a missing persons that we haven't heard back about yet. I think the important thing is having fun.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's still gambling on things, or what are you doing there?
$2 wagers.
Oh,
I'm still about 66% accurate. So it's still good.
I went and did the lottery yesterday, so you're probably staring at someone really rich right now.
Awesome. Good.
I did remote viewing and saw what it is to heal people with who I never heard of. Oh,
interesting.
Yeah. All right. How do you go into that? You want to heal people with remote viewing?
I don't know if you could. Yeah, I don't know. I think
why not?
I mean, I see remote viewing simply as viewing or as sensing, rather than actually manipulating energy. But maybe there's an aspect to that.
No, I thought you said it was manipulating energy, though. You're manipulating your present moment to be winner, right?
When you're intending, so when you intend, I think what you're doing is like you're intending to jump to the timeline with let's call it the healed person or the intended target. So there's an aspect of you can call it creation, maybe.
Okay. What about like when things do get out of control? Like, do you ever feel that? Like, do you step aside? Like this thought yesterday, like I kept getting in this loop of chaos, and I couldn't I don't know how I couldn't get away from it.
Yeah, and so I would say there's nothing wrong with chaos as long as you don't feel the need to control it.
Okay.
Right. So for me, like when chaos is happening, like when my kids were toddlers and my son would have a temper tantrum, like some parents, they start yelling and they get upset and get off the floor. And I would just be like, you know what, Anderson, if that's what you got to do, you do it. When you're done having your tantrum, you can come up here and sit with me and play some Legos with me. Right. Okay. So it's just like, Bashar uses the analogy, like stand in the eye of the storm. So let the tornado spin all around you and you just stay in the center of it, nice and calm.
Well, you mentioned Bashar. Now you've got a Bashar story too.
Oh yeah. This was, I've had a lot of really freaky experiences in my life, a lot of wacky synchronicities. I can't even remember half of them anymore.
Well, sure.
So some context. So our bedroom is upstairs.
Okay.
Our TV room is downstairs. We have a TV in that TV room downstairs, and we have a TV in the bedroom. And I don't watch a lot of TV. So we'll watch, movies once in a while. I'll watch some live disc golf on some weekends. Sometimes I'll watch some YouTube before bed upstairs. So we're in bed, and 1:30 in the morning on Monday night, I wake up and I hear voices, like legit. I hear talking. And I can tell it's coming from downstairs. And I rarely ever wake up. Once I'm asleep, I'm asleep. And I come to, I'm thinking, what is this? And then I'm like, okay, well, Anik is probably downstairs listening to something or watching something. So I swing my arm over to make sure that she's not in bed, and I whack Anik and I wake her up. She's laying next to me, and then I'm like, what the fuck?
All right.
So I get up and I go downstairs, and the TV's on.
Okay.
And Monday during the day, I did not watch any TV downstairs. So I walk into the TV room, and it's in the middle of a Bashar clip.
Why?
And I don't know. And I've been watching some Bashar on YouTube. How it got on my TV, I have no idea. I don't know if the cat, and the TV must have been off when we went to bed. So I don't know if the cat stepped on the remote and somehow got it into YouTube and got it playing a Bashar clip. I honestly have no idea how. And the volume was loud enough so that it woke me up at 1:30. So like when we went to bed, that TV was not on.
Right. How far was it into the clip? Did you sit and listen to the clip?
I didn't know. No, I didn't. So I looked at it. I was like, what the? So I exited out of the clip. I saw the caption. I don't even remember what the name of the caption is.
Okay.
And then I went back to bed, half confused. But today I'm going to go back and I'm going to watch the clip because I'm sure in some way the clip must be relevant to me. Because it's got some kind of synchronicity.
Yeah, I mean, I could see like I don't know about your cat casting it, but if you're on your phone, you can cast it to your TV, right?
Yeah. And
But that's a couple buttons. I mean, that's
and I've never casted from my phone, so it didn't come from my phone. No. It's a Sony Smart TV. So I don't know. I don't know.
What if you missed your moment? What if you could have just sat in it and gotten infinite intelligence?
They're trying to abduct me. They're trying to get me downstairs.
Oh, poltergeist.
Yeah.
Cool.
So yeah, interesting experience. I'm not thinking about it any more than that, other than my assumption is maybe the cat stepped on the remote.
You're not alone. Look.
Oh my God, that happened to me at 1:30 this morning. It was about everything you need to know. Interesting.
A second one. Oh my God, something like that just happened to me.
His voice turned on. Bashar too? Was it Bashar, Lydia? Kat says, I nearly dodged an anal probe. Thanks, Kat.
Oh my gosh. Disclosure fest. That's your type of thing. Let's go.
No. Yeah. I mean, I'm not huge on the alien stuff.
It's that.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people put too many eggs in that basket, thinking aliens are going to come down and save the planet. But it's interesting stuff.
When I walk on a road, go out, everyone stares at me, but feels uncomfortable. How do I avoid it? Oh, this is a real question. I thought we were still talking Bashar.
I got to click. Yeah, I mean, if what we resist persists, right? So if you keep attracting people who are doing something that you resist, then it's about exploring what aspect of yourself feels the discomfort. What's the discomfort you're feeling in those moments that causes the resistance, and then working your way out of that.
Okay. Do you have control issues ever? Like, did you ever have to go through any of that feeling?
I mean, it depends on, I think everybody looks to control in some
right
aspect. I would say over the last 3 years, my desire to control reality or control circumstances is like the lowest it's ever been, probably based on my experiences with my kids and their struggles over the last few years.
Is something like this, does it root back to that? I mean, maybe it does, maybe it doesn't, but it almost always seems like in my situation or a lot of these situations, it's, I would like to control this situation.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's so last night in the Breakthrough Club, we talked about, what it feels like to be living mental body, left brain, in your mind dominant versus higher mind dominant. And, the left brain, we'll call it the human brain, that's the part of your brain that contains the inner critic, the ego, but it's also a necessary part of your brain that is required for you to have the human physical reality experience, because it's what interfaces with physical reality.
Right.
And that's the part of you that creates the fear. And it's the fear for that part of you is valid because when you go back to the non-physical, when you die in transition, well, that part of the brain does not come with you. It literally dies too. Right?
Oh, okay.
So survival is super important for that side of your brain. So as humans, because of how society is structured, most people are stuck in their mental bodies. Most people are spending like 95% of their time or more in their mental bodies, in that left brain. And intuition, your connection to source, overflow, unconditional love, all of the delicious stuff is obvious, and you tune into it when you step in and activate more of your right brain, right? So part of stepping out of fear, there's kind of a couple of paths. One is, working through the beliefs, the stories that fuel and propagate, that fear and those resistance. But there's also like stepping over into your higher mind, because when you reside in that place, none of that stuff is present anymore.
Is it a thing where you can graduate from that emotion? Like once you work through it, is it for the most part gone, or is it a continuing process?
I think once you've invalidated, so like if you get a negative emotion, so all negative emotions are they're indicators, like Abraham-Hicks says. And people don't realize like you can take it further than that and ask yourself, what is it an indicator of? Right. Well, it's an indicator of a belief, a story you've bought into. And once you can identify what these beliefs and stories are and invalidate them, then there's nothing left to fuel those negative emotions and they go away.
Do you find like they're rooted in one or two things, or are they all different?
It's different for everybody.
Oh,
That's
okay.
why we have the belief tree process, right? The magic in the belief tree
Right.
process is you funnel down into all the different branches that might be rooting that one emotion.
Can you talk about some of the specific things you do to step more into your right brain?
I think the meditation we did in the Breakthrough Club yesterday was probably like the most potent way to start to activate and know what it feels like. The remote viewing has been phenomenal for that. I find the more that I remote view now, the more it creates the more you can feel the distinction between the two minds, and the more you can tell when you're stepping in one side of the mind or the other. Can you feel that when you remote view? When you remote view, you feel yourself stepping over?
It's in my sense, it's a higher. I go higher, so I don't know what the difference, but that's my sensation. Whether or not that's now activating this side, but then you can distinguish. You can distinguish this was me, or like I've told you in the past. I have a song when I hear the music, then I know I'm not thinking. I'm not. My brain isn't like I don't want to hear this 80s song. You know?
Yeah. And the way I would describe it is like most people are like mental body dominant, left brain dominant. So analytical mind, human mind dominant. And their human mind connection is like the size of a pinhole. So they're very rarely like tapped into what's available through the higher mind because the connection is just very tiny, and B, they have so much mental chatter going on and they're so ungrounded in their mental body that like they're not present enough to receive what is coming through. Right.
Do you feel like it's a muscle, like that you're building that side of your brain?
Oh, yeah. With every, and I do roughly 3 to 5 remote viewing sessions a day. With every remote viewing session, it gets stronger and stronger. And I don't think, the telepathic experience I described earlier that I had with Anik, I don't think that could have happened if I wasn't practicing that muscle. Right. So for people looking to activate more higher mind connection, it's about opening that connection up in a greater way, developing that muscle. And that's part of what we did in the meditation yesterday in the Breakthrough Club. Plus it's learning like quieting the mind, but quieting the mind becomes easy once you learn and you can kind of more distinguish the difference between those two bodies.
How do we get in on that? How do I get that meditation basically?
Yeah, the Breakthrough Club, I'll type the URL in the chat. Through.club/club. So if you go to that website, you'll find
I'll
the
click
details. And there's a $20 first month trial for anybody who wants to give it a try there.
I mean, that's worth it if it's just that. I mean, that's great.
Of course.
Oh, I didn't know you did that. That's cool. Okay. Disclosure Fest isn't just aliens, it's mass meditation. Music.
Oh, that's cool.
Okay, who's Lizzie Jeff? Look at all these people.
Lizzie, I have no idea.
They must be famous singers and songwriters.
Maybe.
Okay. Look at all these people. I don't know any of these names. These are great.
You're gonna have to check it out. We'll be doing a new meditation on tonight's call. Now, tonight's call is going to be a channeling session with Anik. So it'll be a conversation with Source Call. So I'll do a quick meditation, get everybody grounded and centered and open and receptive. And then we hand things over to Anik and the hot seats to ask your questions directly to Source.
Yeah, I love how you do like compartmentalize. There's Breakthrough Club really truly is breakthrough stuff. Yeah.
I love we've got it's kind of like the two separate, Tuesdays is Breakthrough Club where it's breakthrough focus. It's kind of more practical. Wednesdays is School of Expansion where it's a lot of channeling, a lot of like deeper, longer integrative meditations and more kind of spiritual work.
Yeah, there's a few times like on the Wednesday night calls, I'm I'm not ready for those messages. Now, there's always something that she has that's really, 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 really good, and multiple things. But like, there's a few questions. It's like, oh, I'm not ready. Whereas I think like with your breakthrough club, it's like you're ready for this part. You know?
Yeah, it's just a different focus, right? And some people are looking for the breakthroughs and more reality, physical reality manifestation type stuff. And some people are really looking for the spiritual, wanting to talk to source, infinite intelligent access. So it's just two different kind of things. Ultimately, everything leads down the same path, but they both have kind of a little bit of a different flavor.
Well, I love that the practical applications or the expansion of your remote viewing. I'm really interested in that. Like I'm like trying to make decisions. I've been trying to make decisions based off of
Based
future
off remote
events.
viewing.
Yeah, I mean, just to play around with it, right? It's inconsequential decisions. It doesn't matter if I eat this thing now or later, but let's just play. Should I have done this? Should I have done this? Like to kind of surrender my
But is that
big
surrendering?
dumb brain.
Is
Yeah.
that surrendering?
Yes, my brain is surrendered. Bye, brain.
Awesome. What does everybody have going on in the chat window? Say hi in the chat. What's on your guys' minds?
Okay.
Can you talk about how your group work has grown and transformed since the collective? I wouldn't even know where to start.
Yeah.
I mean, it's everything is more solid is the better way, more expanded. Yeah, I don't even know where I would begin on trying to explain that. Maybe some of our members can explain that in the chat window.
Well, it definitely evolves, right? It's all ever shifting.
Yeah,
Depending on the membership, right?
totally.
You ever get bad members? Do you ever have to have people give the boot?
We have yet to have to kick somebody out. I had to scold somebody once because we have a kind of a rule that like you can't go and start selling your services to other people and start messaging people to try to sell them your coaching and stuff. So I had to kind of have give somebody a start warning once, because we want the Breakthrough Club and School of Expansion to be a safe space, right? This is a space where people can come and share and don't have to worry about other members. But for the most part, we've had these groups going for like 5 years, and we've really never had any issues at all. Actually, one lady, she wanted in my facilitator training, and she couldn't afford it, so she offered some translation services for my books, which I wasn't interested in. There's no sense in me paying to have them translated, not just the translation work, but the editing and like a whole bunch of stuff. For the sales, it wouldn't make sense, and she was upset that I didn't give her free access to my facilitator training, so she went and added a whole bunch of really nasty comments on my Amazon book review page, which is funny. But other than a few weird things like that.
All right, I would flip me out. Let's go through your process in because this shit happens to people, like negative stuff. What do? You're just like, it's whatevs.
Yeah.
Or did it bother you at least for a minute?
Oh yeah, totally.
Okay.
Because she went and she said Nick's name, she said Cindy's name. Like she went and she kind of just went on this tirade, which was not deserving. Half of what she wrote wasn't true. But yeah, what do you do?
But what did you do? Do you address it to the person? Do you do that sort of thing? You
I let it go
yourself.
because again, the more you push against something, the more you push against what you resist, the more it persists. So
right.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, that's it. No more questions. We're good. Carol dominated. She had all the questions.
What's she saying here? My brain can't even imagine your current work. My life changed in ways I couldn't predict or even imagine in the collective. Awesome. Still living in the afterglow. I like that word, afterglow.
What does it mean to you?
Like in a high.
Okay.
Deliciousness.
Like you left your body behind at all?
No, I don't.
Oh, okay.
I don't think so.
You're just euphoric.
Yeah.
Is it possible to have inspired action and not be successful in it? That's a good one.
Depends on how you define successful.
Okay.
Right. So like your inner being might lead you into inspired action that it knows is what your conscious mind is going to interpret as failure, right? Because it's never about the outcome, it's about the journey and what you experience throughout that outcome. So I would say it comes down to, how do you define, success, right? And I would say
Right.
the definition of success is by learning and gaining and expanding through the journey and the process that you're experiencing.
Right. Can you have money without success? Can you have happiness without success though?
It
Is success depend like or not? Is it dependent on success? The things you want.
depends on how you define success,
Okay.
right? So like for some people making money is considered success.
Okay.
For some people, just being alive is considered success, right? So, it's such a inner critic vantage point. When you shift to the higher mind vantage point, there is no such thing as failure, right? Because
Right.
the journey is all that matters, and you can't not experience the journey. Physical reality is just one big exploration. You can't screw up an exploration.
Right. How's your project working on your forest? You've been going
Oh,
out to the forest?
that's done. That fell through.
It did?
So, yeah. So what happened was the offer was accepted in December, supposed to close January 15th. And here in New Brunswick, there's kind of like two property systems. There's this new government electronic mapping system for properties. And then there's like this old paper deed system.
Yeah.
And this property hadn't sold for like over 100 years. So it just passed down through family. And when they pulled the deed back, it wasn't in the new system. So they had to go back to the paper system. And when they brought the deed back from the paper system, it was 20 acres short. And then the seller said, okay, well, we'll get a surveyor to come in and survey it. They said it'll be done in, I don't remember what it was, 4 weeks. They came back 4 weeks later. Survey hasn't gotten it done yet. We need another extension. I said, no problem, another extension. Came back again. No, the surveyor still couldn't get it done. They said it's going to take another 2.5 months. And I said, no, that's enough. You come back and you let me know once the survey is done, and then we'll decide what to do from there. And they essentially couldn't figure out one of the sides of the property for some reason. And I don't know if a deed didn't get updated at some point, or why they couldn't figure it out. But we just kind of let it go for that reason.
That's interesting. So like, take me through your process there. Are you seeing that as a sign?
Not as a sign, but more of a like, all right, not the right time now.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
And yeah, everything always works out just fine for you. Oh,
it does for everyone.
Okay. How can you tell the difference between pushing against and discomfort needed to move to the desired reality?
How can you tell? Okay, let me like
Yeah, right.
look into that. How can you tell the difference between pushing against and discomfort needed? I think discomfort is not about trying to change reality. So anytime you feel discomfort, it's never about what do I need to change out here to correct the discomfort. The first step is what do I need to change in here so that this circumstance is no longer creating discomfort. And it's from that vantage point that what you're going to create out here is now going to be different.
Right. And with that. Oh, okay. They're talking about cats.
We're only half an hour in. We're going through tons of topics today.
And they were all Carol. That's Carol. Carol's going to hop on and be guest host.
We still got about 50 people kicking around. What do you guys have going on? What would you guys like to talk about?
I wish you would have listened to the Bashar clip. I think you should just pop it up right now. Just start listening. See if you start crying.
I'll have to go to my TV and see what YouTube account is logged in. It might be one of my kids' accounts and find the history to see what it was.
That would be funny if they were listening to that. Do they listen to that sort of thing? Okay.
Anderson went through a little bit of an alien kind of phase. He was watching Ancient Aliens and stuff. But he got out of it pretty quickly. They're amazing remote viewers. But they lost interest. His interest now is he wants to be a streamer. So that's taking all of his focus.
I was trying to get my son into the remote viewing because they said like age 12. And so I was hustling him up,
Yeah. And did he try it?
Here he is. No.
No, not interested.
That's I haven't learned how to talk to that one yet. My oldest, I have a problem with. Like a good thing, right? Like I just like my daughter, I really click with. The baby's fun. Anyway, okay. Does Bashar talk about ET implants? What's that?
I have no idea.
Oh shoot! All right, Chloe, what do you got? What is it?
Not those kind of implants, Nick.
That's what I'm saying. I don't know. She's shying away in her picture. Okay. Oh, here you go. Love your remixes. Are you doing any more?
I know I get that request so often, and I've got a little bit of a playlist lined up. I haven't had the time for it, but it's on my intention to create more remixes is there for sure.
Something. Oh, what's an implant? Something that I learned about, and I don't like it. Okay, but she wants to know about it.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I don't spend a whole lot of train on the kind of first contact alien. A lot of time on that train.
Go back to your music real quick. Like, was that initially just like, okay, I want fun things to do?
So what it was so I had a neighbor that was living next door for about a year and a half, a German guy who was into like German techno.
Okay.
And over COVID, he would come over once a week, and I had this like little DJ deck that I had bought for my daughter years ago, and we started kind of playing on the DJ deck, and that turned into me, doing an online course and developing my DJ skills up until like last year after the Abraham-Hicks event. We threw an after party with like 150, 200 people where I DJ'd as well as my friend. And over the course of playing with music, I also dabbled in, call it music production. And I had this idea where I was doing subconscious alchemy, which is like hypnosis. And in subconscious alchemy, you could implant words to trigger states of being. So I don't remember what any of those words are right now.
But you did all that with that? That's cool.
So like just be or let it go or
and
some people in here have those programs, and I know Lydia's probably on here. What are some of those key anchor words? If you guys are here, drop them in the chat window.
So can you hear it, or it's completely subliminal?
Well, what happens? Oh, it's completely subliminal. But what happens is when I say it, oh yeah. So one of them is like drop. And that anchor was from a subconscious alchemy I did, so that every time they hear me say the word drop, or they hear it in their mind through my voice, they drop down out of their head and into their body. Right. So what I did with the music is I took music that I liked, and I recorded my voice saying certain things, those keywords like drop. And I took Abraham-Hicks little mini clips, and I put them in with the music. Right.
All right.
So that when people who have those subconscious implants listen to the music, then it'll trigger them into those like desired states of being.
When was this? When were you doing all this? I wonder if you were doing it at the same time I was doing music.
About a year or two ago.
All right. Yeah, I was. I mean, you're so much better.
Chloe says she loves my implants. There you go. My subconscious implants. They're not alien implants, but they're just as good.
Right. How can you tell the difference between being out of alignment and it's just not the right time now?
So alignment is your connection to source. So when you feel good, you're in alignment. So like, people overthink alignment. Alignment is really your level of connectivity with your source self. So that's what I would call alignment. This is just not the right time now. So what we're talking about here is acting out of inspired, intuitive impulse versus acting out of effort. Right. And for me, the biggest way to differentiate is I ask myself, for this action step, am I taking this action step for the joy and the impulse of the action step? Or am I taking this action step because I believe it's going to get me a certain outcome?
Right.
And if it's for the joy of the action step itself, then I would consider that the right time. If the action step is just to achieve an outcome, then it's coming from the wrong energy.
Okay. I mean, there's certain things you do, though, that are intended to bring certain outcome. I don't think you're out of alignment, though.
You're not necessarily out of alignment, but there's the question of, is it an efforted?
Right. It's an effort.
or is it truly inspired?
What about like, can you be out of alignment or in alignment and have it's just not the right time now? Like, of course, right? Like literally now's not the time to do business or play outside with my kids.
Yeah, I think it's like it's understanding the concept of organic unfolding.
Okay.
And that's one of my favorite, we'll call it principles or terms, which is understanding that like you don't need to control reality,
Right.
right? You can intend, right? But when you're living, more from the higher mind vantage point than we'll call it the human mind vantage point, like you're in a space of appreciation, you're in a space of overflow, you're in a space where you just follow what feels good.
Right.
And it makes life so much easier because there's nothing left to figure out.
Do some things like disappear when you're in that state? Do like certain desires? I mean, or do you feel like that is a part of your thing? Because you're definitely very businessy. You love to build things.
I,
Now
lo- I
you're
love
doing it to
I
love.
love
You love
I
it.
love to create. I love to help
Yeah.
people. I love to create. For me, it's like what excites me. And I don't remember if I talked about it on this call or somewhere else in another call. But like, if I did this remote viewing stuff
Mhm.
and I figure out how to win the lottery with remote viewing. Yeah, that's exciting. But what makes it 1,000 times more exciting is to be able to teach other people how to do it too.
Yeah.
So like my highest excitement is, pushing the boundaries of what's possible in physical reality, but also showing other people how to also experience it and do it for themselves.
Right. Do you find that they're coming to you for certain things they want, or they just want to participate in the project with you? Like I definitely am like having fun getting to that level of my brain. It's fun.
Yeah, there's like, so, when somebody comes into the Breakthrough Club or
Yeah.
School of Expansion or one of these membership communities, there's two types of people. There's the people who come in and then, 3 or 4 weeks later, they're like, oh, this isn't going to teach me how to manifest $1 million. I'm out. Right.
Yeah.
So there's the people who come in from what I would call like the purest law of attraction vantage point of like, I need somebody who can help me manifest something quick and easy. And now I want the magic pill.
Right.
The people who stick around in the Breakthrough Club are the people who understand that like there is no magic pill. Reality is always going to be a reflection of your vibration, what you're putting out. And manifestation is old news. Right. Do we teach manifestation and all this deliciousness like in the Breakthrough Club? Absolutely. Right. But it's all about the evolution of who you are, not what's the one technique that I can find that's going to give me everything I want in my reality, because that's not how reality works.
Yeah. Do you find life becomes more surprising at that point? More exciting, more surprising?
It becomes more delicious,
Okay.
but only because you're more present in it.
Mm-hmm.
And you're connected through like your source self connection or the higher mind. You're living in a more like embodiment of the delicious state.
Okay. Do you feel like did you play around with that? Every time you go in a different room, you experience the room. Did you play around with that at all? Okay.
No.
So I was doing that like last couple of weeks. Anyway,
Yeah.
do you sense all that stuff though? Like when you enter I understand maybe a big party, you would feel different, but like, okay, now I'm in the hallway. How does this feel? How does this feel? How does this feel like dropping into that?
Yeah, I mean the closest I've done to that is like the practice of like grounding back into my body every
Right.
time I walk into a room. Now I would say like I'm probably living 50% grounded.
Okay.
My goal would be like 80% grounded. Right now I would say like my highest excitements have shifted to the most random weird stuff. Like we have a squirrel that's been hanging around the house. And for the last couple of days, I've been like feeding the squirrel and taking videos of it and posting it on my Instagram stories.
Okay.
My daughter named the squirrel Farkle. Right.
Okay.
If anybody goes to my Instagram right now, Instagram.com/nkbro and checks my stories out, you'll see, I don't know if they'll both the last couple of days or just the last 24 hours is there, but you'll see a video of me like taking a video of a squirrel, which is the dumbest, randomest thing. But again, for me, it's like just more ways to appreciate reality. Like
Right.
we've been watching the icebergs floating by last week, which was magical. Like
Yeah.
there's so many things in reality to like appreciate once you slow down and take the time to appreciate it. You don't need a $1 billion bank account or a yacht or any crazy, big things to really live in a delicious reality.
Yeah, and you can just keep having those. I mean, you're having that experience right in your house, outside your house, all the time. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have to pretend until your brain thinks you're good and get good energy? It's a crazy.
No,
Great
but you
question.
don't have to pretend because it's available right here, right now.
Right. There's a feeling that feels good right now.
Always.
Yes.
Right? Like
Right.
every emotion, it's two ends of a stick, right? There's good enough, not good enough, everything in between. Right? Everybody on this call can think of a feeling that puts you on one end of the stick or the other end of the stick. Right? Every emotion is always available to you. And physical reality is just telling you on what end of the stick that you're tuning into most of the time.
Yeah. Someone winning the lottery without knowing any of this, they're just vibrating at that level of abundance and not knowing it.
Yeah, I mean, it's never just, one frequency. So, right. So they're probably in a state of detachment. There's a bunch of different frequencies and belief systems to look at, but in some way they've lined up with that experience.
Right. Yeah. The how important do you think the knowing is? I guess we're in there. We all know. I think everyone in the chat knows.
Yeah. And I think the problem with knowing for some people is like once they know about law of attraction, they're like, effort. I gotta visualize, I gotta meditate, I gotta build vision boards, I gotta effort, I gotta clear all the stuff. And that just puts them into this massive state of struggle and effort and lack. And it's probably shooting them in the foot more than it is helping them. And that's why, like when I talked about people coming into the breakthrough club, it's the people who really get it that typically stick around.
Well, there are processes though. I mean, you do have a process. You have
Oh, totally.
multiple things in there. So,
But it's about seeing this work as a lifestyle.
okay.
It's about seeing it as like, daily embetterment. And like, yeah, of course you want to work through whatever shit comes up in your vibration or your energy field, but it's about doing it from the vantage point of like more source connectivity, deeper integration, living in your body. Not I'm doing this because I'm going to win $1 million, because that's not going to work.
Right. Have you come across any like with all your remote viewing, is it all just senses still? Or are you like starting to feel emotions? Can you feel the emotions of things in it?
Oh, totally. So
Oh, you
some
can?
questions there's emotions. Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
What I lack for some reason my remote viewing is like being able to just visually see and draw exactly as the target is. So like this morning I did one target and the target ended up being a bunch of horses. And what I got through as data, the first thing I got through was like the knight chess piece, which is a horse.
Right.
And then like everything felt like a horse. Like I could smell horse. Like the taste was like hay. Like everything was. It was just. I just could have written down the word horse on my page, and the target ended up being a horse. But at no point did I get like any kind of visual image of what that horse looked like.
Okay. Or where it was like for my thing, it's positioned where it's positioned. I feel. Have you noticed other people in that group feeling different things, or are they all pretty much doing like the same techniques as you?
I
Like
think
you go through the senses.
I think they're just. I think they're so new to the remote viewing practice that they're still kind of just picking up fragments.
Right.
The meditation I did with the Breakthrough Club yesterday, I came up with an idea on how to alter that meditation to actually take them through a door to the target in a meditative state. So I intend on recording that, I think, this week and then sharing that with that side dev group, so they can give that a try and see how that impacts their viewing.
Yeah, it's really cool. Can you please chat about the balance between inspired action and coming out of complacency, comfort zone?
Yeah, I think that's going to be different for everyone.
What does inspired action look like for you?
It's just following impulse.
Okay.
So I would say for me, like 95% of my actions are probably inspired.
Yeah.
Coming out of complacency and comfort zone, that's typically around exploring feelings of unsafety. or heaviness that's creating fatigue, resistance. So like most topics, it's about exploring the resistance that's keeping you in your comfort zone.
Do you have a comfort zone? Do you feel like I'm here? I don't want to get up.
I don't think so. When I get impulses for things, I typically act.
Oh, cool. Clients. How can I align in getting or attracting clients or followers for my business? Is it visualizing or is it acting as if?
I think visualizing is effort. So whenever you're doing, I'm going to visualize to attract clients.
Mm.
Well, you're vibrating at the vibration of lack of clients. So that typically isn't super helpful. Same with acting as if you're any process you're doing with the intention of attracting something, you're in parallel to that, you're activating the vibration of lack.
That's interesting. So you don't do visualizations. You don't play around with it. You're not interested. The
Well, like
hypnosis sounds like
the
that much.
closest thing to visualizations is just like sitting in appreciation satisfaction.
Okay.
So like, what would it look like? So I could sit in my chair and be like, ooh, what would it look like if there was 1,000 members in the Breakthrough Club?
Sure.
How delicious would it be if we had 1,000 people showing up every week discussing all these amazing leading edge topics? Right.
Do you make plans when that happens? Do you think about what then?
No.
Okay. Okay.
Because
You're just the number, hit the number. I'm excited.
If there is a action step to be taken to lead to that experience, then that impulse will come through from source.
Gotcha. So that you do start with the end in mind. 1,000 subscribers, or 1,000 members.
I could say the same thing for 500 members. I could say the same thing for 50 members.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. And then whatever happens as a result of that. And then you follow that?
Yeah, the impulse comes through.
Like, okay. Oh, sorry.
Oh, go back. Yeah. So Steve says, isn't visualizing for how it feels? Yeah. So visualization, it's not about the visual you're creating, but it is about the feelings you're creating in that visualization. And if you visualize for the excitement and the joy of just the process of visualizing itself, then that's okay. That's not a bad thing. But most people, when they're doing processes like visualization, they're doing it from the energy of, I'm doing this process to get out of the lack that I'm currently tuning into. Right.
Right. Yeah. Would you be doing this instead of watching Netflix? If if it didn't mean anything, is it just as entertaining for you? Is that really it? Like, it's entertainment?
Depends.
I guess if it puts you in a good mood, though, I mean, that's the entertainment you want.
I'm very engaged in my physical reality.
Yeah.
So like in the summertime, like I'm typically out, playing in the garden or planting stuff or paddleboarding or disc golfing or, like I like doing, I like engaging with my reality. I like cooking.
Yeah. Do you think that makes a big difference in your life? Like the physical activity is changing certain parts of you? Okay.
Well, it's keeping you in your body.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. Yeah. So there should be some of that. Like, people should be doing that.
Yeah.
But
I think it should be obvious to people that if you're spending your whole day on your phone and scrolling through social media and on TikTok, that you're stuck up here in your mental body and there's no productivity there in any of that.
Yeah. Can you describe how it feels to be in good energy when you don't laugh too much? What should you feel? I would imagine that
I would say, I would say you're overthinking it.
Yeah.
So I would say, like, when you feel good, you feel good.
Yeah.
And when you don't feel good, you don't feel good. I think the most important piece on this topic is like, people need to ask themselves is, are you actually slowing down enough to recognize how you're actually feeling? Because most people aren't.
Getting heavy here. Okay. My life definitely worked so much better before knowing about all these things.
And that's typically the case when you turn to those things to try to alter your reality.
Right. It's the should have took the red pill.
I love the pills that I took.
What'd you take?
We'll call it the 11-11 pill, maybe. I don't know.
Oh, cool. What about extreme empathy? When you feel energy of everyone picked up the mental states. Ooh.
You can't feel what you're not already practicing for yourself.
Okay.
So somebody who's got, so here's my description of empathy. So if I gave you a bowl of soup and I gave a 3-star Michelin a bowl of the same bowl of soup, and I said, tell me what ingredients are in this soup. Well, obviously the professional chef is going to be able to have a more bigger list or be more accurate because their palate has developed where they are more attuned to, what they're tasting with their taste buds, right? Empaths, it's the same thing. People who are empaths are people who are, call it, highly emotionally attuned, so they can attune to emotions at a deeper, at a stronger level. In my experience, it typically comes from growing up in an environment where in some way they didn't feel safe, and they learned to feel out the emotions of the people they were living with, maybe their parents, in order to gauge, whether they were safe or not. So that's my definition of being kind of an empath. So when you're picking up other people's energy, it's either because at a subconscious level, you're constantly probing other people's energies in order to feel safe, or it's because something is being reflected back to you that you're already carrying that needs to be worked through.
Okay. But it's not like a thing where you can be like a sommelier. Can you be an empath sommelier and like
delivered? I don't like to think about that.
berries?
Oh, geez.
I see Nick's style in manifesting is just natural, fitting, resonates with all lifestyle. This is the best way for everyone. Organic.
That's how it's supposed to be. When we channeled the other day, they came in through and they said, like, humanity and humans who study law of attraction are looking at it from the wrong vantage point. They're overestimating the aspects of like visualization, but they're not looking at the important things like detachment.
Oh, okay. Spot on. Now I can detect emotion and I no longer feel it. That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. So it's like little safeguards for yourself?
Yeah, I mean, and it's all happening unconscious for most people, right? Most people who are empaths feel like they're a victim or like, this is a bad thing. And the way I explain it to my son, who's very tuned in, is it's almost like you're a superhero who has a superpower who's not yet learned how to master their superpower.
Right. That's probably the case for most people in here, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, they should ask some final questions because it's almost time. Right?
Yeah. Five more minutes. Anybody have one more delicious and juicy topic?
What do you have going today?
We got the School of Expansion call tonight.
Yep. What about before all that? Anything?
I don't know. I don't know. My inspirations for the rest of the day haven't quite shown up yet.
You ever make plans? You ever write a list of anything?
No, I'm definitely not a list person.
Were you ever?
I know I would like to go out and play some disc golf, throw some discs if the weather's
Can
nice.
you do it today?
There's snow on the ground now. We got some snow yesterday, but if it's not too cold out, I might go out anyways. But yeah, making lists has never been fun for me.
We are getting better with our superpowers. Totally.
Absolutely.
And with that,
one of my favorite statements is you are more than human.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah. It resonates to you because you're saying you're connected to all things.
I think most people, they buy into the belief that, this is what a human being says. Got 5 senses, like society's norms of what you are as a human. But like, people are so much more than that, especially when you understand that you are your source self. You are the integration of that, right?
Yeah.
Everybody on this call can remote view or do telepathy like I experienced earlier today, but it's just there's skills that need to be developed because they're unpracticed.
So how do you ground yourself if you're super sensitive to other people's energies?
It's for most people, it's a practice, right? I did a program in January. It was a parasympathetic activation program, which was all about getting grounded, getting in your body. So it's about knowing what it feels like, and then having some specific practices to drop in on command. But for most people, it's so unpracticed that they don't even know what it feels like. So that's typically the first step.
Well, what's the process then? I mean, you're around one person and then two, or like you gradual?
No, it's more about learning what it feels like to be grounded.
Oh,
right?
okay.
Most people don't even know what that feels like. Right?
Okay.
So most people are so used to being in their mind all the time. Like the grounded feeling is you feeling in your body. So like the same way it feels when you're like doing like sports, right?
Yeah.
When you're doing something that's very like intensive, physically intensive, like you're in your body, right? So that's kind of the way I teach what it feels like to be grounded. And then once you know what it feels like, then it's about learning to develop the muscle so that you can come down and hold it. Most people can drop down, but 2 seconds later they're back up in their mind. Right.
Right. And do you think how much of that was that you were just practicing that again and again and again? So you're just holding it. I guess you kept dropping in, right? You were
like
setting an alarm.
In that 4-week program, I use subconscious alchemy. So what I did in that hypnosis or that subconscious alchemy was get people while they were under down into the grounded state, recognizing what that state felt like. And then every time you hear me say the word drop out loud or in your mind, you will automatically return to this state. Right?
Yeah. Can you talk about how you are raising your kids' manifestation principles in mind? How might your parenting be different than the typical parent?
I slide things in once in a while when I have the chance, but they're not super interested in it. I think in the kind of early teenage stages, they're not super interested in that stuff. My daughter has been, I guess, chatting with a guy. She's 14, who's been reading a lot of Eckhart Tolle. So,
cool.
For some kids, they're into that stuff, and some aren't. I think the most important thing is not pushing things onto your kids if they're not interested in it.
I would think that you're just kind of chill to be around.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think that there's a connection between remote viewing and superposition?
I don't know what superposition is. What's superposition, Steve? Fill me in.
Do you think I'm saying it right?
Yeah, superposition.
Supposition?
No, it's super.
It is super.
Super as in Superman.
Cool.
Lydia says that was the word drop. I still feel it.
Oh, yeah.
Totally. Oh, Steve says superposition, not the superposition. I still don't know what superposition is. Superstition? No.
No, he said it multiple times.
But
well, he said and so he's embarrassed that he wrote the. Okay.
But I don't know what superposition is.
Yeah.
What's superposition?
Well, we're just gonna drag this out.
Somebody tell me what's superposition. Steve, don't leave me hanging.
He left. I used to envision a bubble around myself. It helped me to protect from others' energy, hence feeling more rounded.
Interesting.
I think that works really good, though, right? I mean, it makes you feel safe, and then that's the important thing in the moment.
I don't know. In that moment, if it helps, yes. Longer term, I would rather see that person work through the discomforts of the emotions rather than having to put up a force field.
Right. Yeah, it might be a thing where you're just like new to the area, right? Like you're new to the sensation, so you kind of have to protect yourself for a second before you can explore it.
Yeah, okay. I'd rather get people to a place where they don't feel the need to protect themselves from anything.
Okay. It's all the possible places a possibility can be.
Okay, so when we remote view, you go out into like I call it the matrix, right? It's like the energetic grid of all things. And that's what your higher mind is connected to. So when you remote view, you shift over to the higher mind where all things across all space, time, yada, yada, now becomes available.
And maybe they're onto something. Maybe that's why a lot of times you're getting both hits.
Yeah. And Steve says he's going to bring it up in the Breakthrough Club. Awesome.
Maybe you are superposition. You are the superposition.
I'm going to put that on a mug, even though I still don't exactly. I kind of get the concept of it, but
just on your shirt.
Superposition mastery.
It's a lot to write. He wrote. I love that. Okay. And how do we get in the Breakthrough Club?
It's the URL I shared earlier. I'll type it in again. brkthru.club/club.
I think the 20 bucks for a month is awesome.
Yeah, it's the most shift you'll get for the price.
Yeah. All right.
Cool.
That's
Awesome.
great.
Thanks for
Yeah.
tuning in, everybody. Glad to have some fun with you guys. For our School of Expansion members, we'll see you in the channeling session at 3:00 Eastern later today. And other than that, thanks, Nick, and ciao for now.
Thanks for your wisdom.